All right, so this past week on June 8th, Anthony Bourdain committed suicide. He hung himself in his hotel room in France while he was on location filming for his hit CNN show called Parts Unknown, which is a show that I discovered on Netflix. I didn't watch it on CNN, but Netflix has, all the back catalog of it. I first heard of Anthony Bourdain on Rogan's podcast. He did Rogan's podcast a couple years back and seemed cool, seemed interesting. And then that's when I looked up his show. And for those of you that don't know, Anthony Bourdain was a chef, and he was known as the bad boy rock star lifestyle chef. And a lot of chefs are I used to work in restaurants when I was younger. My first real job was working at a restaurant. I worked at 2 different restaurants for about 4 years, from when I was 15 to 19 or 16 to 20, something like that. And I worked with a few different chefs over those years, and they do have kind of an edge to them, I guess, chefs, at least for the most part. There was one chef out of maybe 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 that I worked with over that time period that was a straight and narrow chef. But besides that, most of them drink heavily, alcoholic status drink, and if not, just like to drink a lot and party, but not necessarily alcoholic status. There was a few, at least two. Let me see, 1, 2. No, 3 that I remember that used to do coke. And they're, I don't know, and that's in little mom and pop shop type restaurants, and that career or that job or that whatever, that position kind of always had that fama of chefs like to party, that's their shit. And Anthony Bourdain was supposed to the pinnacle of that. And I know that he, on Rogan's podcast, he spoke about when he was younger, and he spoke about this on different venues as well. But he spoke about being into heavily into coke and heroin when he was younger, and then kicking that habit. And he also drank, and he still drank even after, which was interesting. Even after he kicked heroin and was sober and stopped doing coke, he still drank, which is interesting, because he supposedly wasn't an alcoholic status drinker, but he used to drink socially, which is weird because at least most stories that I hear from addicts and shit, they can't do anything, or they'll do everything, you know what I mean? And he was apparently measured in his drinking, and but he definitely did have an addictive personality. Something else that he got into was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because I know his wife used to be into it, and she or his ex-wife, and she was even in a bunch of jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff like that. And as a way to bond with her, he got into doing jiu-jitsu and supposedly got completely addicted to it. And whenever he was on location for his show, he would go to any local jiu-jitsu school to do jiu-jitsu. He won actually a tournament in New York, a small, I don't know how small it is, to be honest, but it's a spring BJJ tournament. He won the gold in the 56 and older division. It was the IBJJF, New York Spring International Open Championship. And for those of you that know about jiu-jitsu, or at least have some inkling of it, there's a bunch of different tournaments in different schools and stuff like that. It's just not the Olympics or something, you know what I mean? But it's definitely something notable. And his show, so he was this rock star chef that was also an author, and he wrote one book that I know of, probably wrote a couple others, and he actually like narrated his show. His show is about cooking, and it's, well, not like a traditional like cooking show. He went around the world. It's called Parts Unknown. At least this show, the show that I got into. I know he had like another show before it, and I think maybe even a third show before that one. But the show that I got into, Parts Unknown, he went to parts unknown around the world. And, you know, he would go to like a bar in New Jersey that made the best chopped cheese sandwich, according to him. And he would go to Cuba and eat in a village with traditional Cuban food. And he would go to Turkey and, you know, and so forth. Every time that I saw an episode of that show, like each episode, I think it's like 45 minutes to an hour. It felt so much longer to me, but like definitely in a good way. And to me, it was, each show is like a little mini vacation. Like you really get a sense of what the place is like that he's at, because it's not, you know, just like at the resort, you know, eating the fried fish that they cook at the beach, or like sipping margaritas poolside. It's like a bit more of an authentic experience that he tries to give out, or tries to show through his show, and it really came off that way. I think what did it for me was he was a really good writer and had a way with words, and he wrote on a lot of his show, and I want to say all of his show, but I don't know if that's correct, but he definitely wrote on the show and had final cut, which means everything and anything that you see, he signed off on. You know, like not the director, not the showrunner. He had final cut on his show, which is rare. He narrated it, which you guys know I like. I'm a sucker for. Like I like movies with narration and voiceover and stuff like that. And his show has that as well. Netflix was, I think the show was scheduled to like come off from Netflix actually, like in like later this month, I think in June or July, but they actually tweeted today that they were going to extend it for many months to come, which is a smart move on their part. Like everybody and their mother's speaking about Anthony Bourdain now, so even people that didn't know about him before, you know, now that he committed suicide, are gonna want to like check out his show. It's fucking horrible, yo. And it goes to show that, you know, even like mental health is such a prevalent issue in the country and in the world. What am I talking about? The country, in the world, and I don't know, like more like in our face now more than ever, like with social media and the connectivity of people and how small the world has become because of the internet. We as a people definitely have to do a better job of taking preventative measures and trying to notice signs and being there for people that you feel like might have issues. And if you yourself have issues, you know, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which I linked to in the episode notes actually. And their phone number is actually 800-273-8255 if anyone is in need of that. And there's actually a text version, which I looked up for those less inclined to actually make the phone call. You know, it could be a text that fucking saves your life. And you get to, you know, speak with a trained crisis counselor. And the number that you have to text is 741-741. And just one more time, the phone number is 800-273-8255. And I linked to it in the episode notes, as well as the text. The number to text is 741-741. And it's sad because, you know, even someone seemingly like Anthony Bourdain, where he has like a dream job and on top of the world and doing something that he himself is passionate about and was doing since he was a teen, and working in kitchens and restaurants and cooking, and got to do it in this super cool, unique dream job way, and had money and had, everybody that encountered him liked him. Shit was still so fucked up in his head that he decided to, while on location shooting this show, hang himself in his hotel room, and leaving behind his ex-wife, which they were going through like a divorce or something like that, and it was never finalized, but I'm assuming based on that I guess they were estranged at least, or separated already. But he also left behind a daughter, which sucks. That has to be rough to like lose a parent that way, or a child, lose any family member or friend that way. But I can't even imagine like the amount of, it can't be sadness, like on your sad, like down, like days that you're just out of it and just like fed up with everything and anything, and everything just makes you like down, like feel down and like shitty. Like it must be that times a million, like severe depression, to feel as if the only way out, the only escape, the only way to feel a sense of relief from the shit that's going on in your own head is to just end everything, just fade to black, just everything go dark. Like to choose that over anything and everything and anyone else has to be like an insane level of just pain and anguish and confusion and just sadness. And it's fucking sad. But I'd say definitely check out his show, especially if you guys haven't, and I'm sure you get something from it. There's like gems in every episode. There's like takeaways. There's like a way that Anthony had of connecting to like the people or like the essence of the countries and places that he was in, and like extracting like all the goodness from it and like putting it on screen and sharing it with you, and had a way of tying it all together with his words, which is cool. It's a really good show, and I've seen a bunch of them. I definitely haven't seen all of them, and I'm definitely gonna hop on Netflix and catch the ones that I haven't seen yet. Again, if you or anyone that you know, anyone that you think might need it, call the fucking suicide prevention hotline. Text them. It could be a call or text that saves your or somebody else's life. You never know. And also just stop being shitty to people, like for no reason. You know what I mean? Like whatever, like negative energy, negative bullshit that we put on each other, and we were all guilty of it. Like lessen that. Like take that down a notch. It's very unnecessary. You never know what fucking straw that broke the camel's back could lead someone into doing some unreversible sick shit like that. Also, Kate Spade, the designer lady that I know her from, like purses and shit that my wife liked. She committed suicide the same way. Also hung herself like a week before, or a couple days before, or something like that. And something interesting about her that I didn't know, she was married to David Spade, the comedian, the comedic actor, and comedian. I think he did stand up. She was married to his brother, which I didn't know. Hence the last name Spade. All right. What a bummer. What a bummer way to start the episode, huh?